What's up, everybody? Peter Exodus O'Coffer here. Welcome you back to another episode of Hit Song. So today we're doing Empire State of Mind with Jay-Z and Alicia Keys. It was on Jay-Z's album. This is from 2009. And yes, it is considered a hit song for me and not a classic song. And I guess as depending on how old you are, what you consider classics and what you consider hits. So a younger folk person would probably consider Empire State of Mind to be a classic, but for me, it's the 2000s on is more current for me. I guess I break it down also, starting basically eras. So we're now starting about 2000. That was the streaming era, and the Napster slash streaming, and before that was CD and then record and cassette. So I consider that old medium the classic songs. So 84 beats per minute for uh, an F major for Empire State of Mind. Um, I consider this, I've done, a couple of what I consider epic songs. I consider this to be an epic song, but it's very different than the rock songs. And as I go along on this, I kind of redefine too what I think of epic songs. But epic, goes back to, in my opinion, they're big, you know, larger than life songs. And to me, it goes back to classical music and just the soaring highs and lows, and seeing the conductor, when the, the song is really taken off and really into conducting the symphony, and then backing off, and more quieter parts. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. This song has been called an orchestral rap ballad, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Uh, So, earlier, I mean, Stairway to Heaven, the pattern with Stairway to Heaven is slowly building up the tempo, and it gets louder. Dream On, building up the energy there, and it gets louder. Bohemian Rhapsody, you know, a bunch of little vignettes, speed up, slow down, loud, soft, and then, Freebird, slowly speeding up and getting louder as well. Different thing going on here, but there is the loud, soft dynamic, and I'll get into that later. And they do it very differently than a rock song would do it. So Empire State of Mind clocks in at 4:36. Little long for this era, but this just tells you the power of the song. It was not cut, and radio played it. Now it's gone down to about, and the top end of getting a radio is 315, and I can't remember back, going to 2009, but that's really when it, they started, needing the ad money, and started to tell the artists to kind of whittle down the length of songs. Interesting story about the song. There were 8 songwriters. The first two, this was built off of "Love on a Two-Way Street" by the Moments, and Stacey Lattisaw in the early '80s did a cover, and that was pretty big. But they literally take the first couple bars of the song, which never repeat again, and that's the kind of the hook that rolls through the song. Another interesting thing: 2 women wrote the song, Angela Hunt and Janet Janae Sewell, and her last name is Ulepic. I don't know how to say that, but it's pretty awesome that 2 women started off this song. In the end, there was a total of 8 songwriters. It was rejected when she first brought it to Jay Z's people, but Jay Z and Alicia Keys, did added some stuff and, changed a few things around. And hey, we got this, classic song, maybe one of the best of the 2000s, since it drops in 2009. They also considered Mary J. Blige, as the vocalist, but I think I love Mary, but I think they did well with Alicia Keys. I think it really worked. Uh, and going back to the two original writers, so they were in London and they missed in New York City, and so that was the start of the song. And I think what I might do is search around and see if there's any early versions of this song and YouTube. You'd be surprised sometimes there are. Jay-Z really took the song and I think redid the lyrics. So it was, his stamp was on it, and his view of what made New York great was the central piece of the song. Empire State of Mind went on and won 2 Grammys, so it did very well. Alicia, months after this, she came out with Empire State of Mind Part Two, Broken Down, her own version, because Jay-Z really took the lyrics and really, you know, kind of put an imprint of himself on the song. And they're both from New York City. So Alicia Keys was like, hey, I want to do my version. So Alicia's version starts off, much of it's on the piano, and towards the end of the song, it a full band comes in. So Alicia's version didn't do as well as Jay Z's version, and her version with Jay Z. And I guess Jay Z was did lay some tracks down for the song for Alicia, but it didn't make it in the final. I like them both. I mean, Empire State of Mind. Obviously, the first version, hit number one, and Alicia's didn't do as well on the charts, but Alicia's is still really nice. And I love the contrast and, listening to lyrics and how both of them, their love, you know, for New York City is strong, but it's different, in a way. So what gives this song this epic feel? Because like a lot of hip hop songs, I mean, there's not much of a beat. You got a piano line in there, and you got some transitional beats. But what is it that gives it this soaring power that everybody's drawn to? Well, to me, I mean, if you listen to other episodes, I mean, I'm a writer and write science fiction, fantasy, and I do music as well. So to me, the one thing that music is different than writing is for me, writing, editing can be kind of tedious, and I don't find that to be very what's the word here I'm looking for, don't find it to be very creative, so to speak. Whereas, when you're doing music and you get into the mixing and the mastering of a song, that's still very creative, and it's still very, I mean, obviously editing is important to a novel, but mixing and mastering are very important to a song, and they can change a song, and really elevate a song. And I think that's what happened here, because if you really listen to the song, Jay-Z's rapping, he's kind of embedded in the groove and the flow of the song, and which is contrasted with Alicia Keys, because Alicia's essentially the hook. And so I mean, a quick rundown here of mixing. So, we have the vertical aspect of the mix, where it's where you EQ, so your bass to your hi-hats, your high vocals, and so it's kind of vertical because you want to separate everything out so it's clear. And you have depth, and that's where songs sound close and some sounds far away. And then you have width, and this is what they did with this song to really give Alicia Keys this epic sound as she sings. And And so what they do is they do something called panning. You know, if you listen to Empire State of Mind and your earbuds, your left, and you have your left earbud, your right earbud, and Alicia Keys' vocals take up a lot more space than Jay Z's width wise. So that's the first thing they did is they made her vocals bigger and wider. And the other thing is Jay Z's vocals are sit down more in the mix, and Alicia's vocals are I literally what I call sitting on top of the mix. So I mean, she's really her vocals are really up front, and so that contrast really does it. When you look at the rock songs I've done and that I will do that I consider epic songs, it's the guitar oftentimes that gives it the epic feel. The power chords, the solos, and it's interesting that Jay Z and Alicia Keys here, both amazing songwriters and collaborating here, they did it with the vocals. And so, and this isn't the only, hip hop song I consider an epic song, but, both genres here are doing the same thing, but they're doing it really differently. So, got to give props too. I mean, Jay Z's been in the game a long time. I'm sure Jay Z knows, mixing and mastering. But whoever mixed this, did a masterful job. So I think, I'm not sure if it's mixed differently, whether it's the smash that it ended up being. And going back to Alicia's part, I mean, we all know Alicia, has pipes that can sing, and boy, she brings it in this song. And despite the great mixing, if it isn't for Alicia's great vocals, I mean, it wouldn't work. So I just want to, for the record, say Alicia kills the vocals on this song, like she always does. She's great. So I love to do branding. So what's Jay Z and Alicia's brand? Well, for me, I mean, they're both legends. They're both great songwriters. Ladies first, Alicia Keys. So, you know, at some point, I'm going to do an episode on great debut albums. And for me, Songs in A Minor, Alicia's first album, I mean, it'll probably make the top 10. If not, it'll, be honorable mention. I don't know if I'll go beyond 10 or stick to 10. I don't know. But I'm kind of one of those dudes that will just be like, I'm not being, tied down by a number. So I'm just gonna, do my favorites and talk about them. So I think, when I do the best debut albums of all time, I think, Alicia Keys will be in there. Put the Doors debut, off the Wall by Michael. That's really, a debut. I'm a Prince guy, and For You's underrated, but should be there. Jimi Hendrix Experience. Are You Experienced? That'll be there. So yeah, down the road that's coming in, and I think Alicia Keys when Rolling Stone did that top 500 albums of all time, she was still too new. They're gonna revisit that. They've already revisited it once, but I think Songs in A Minor and The Diary of Alicia Keys. I mean, those are monumental classic albums, and I think eventually those two will, crack that all-time top 500. I mean, it's interesting because we're still, everybody's making new music and new albums every year, but I think those two are very good albums, and I think at some point they will be considered, um, you know, elite and in that group. As far as Jay Z, another episode down the road, you know, talking year or two, and probably with the great debut albums, but looking at artists and their catalogs, and So I mean, you have what I call small catalogs, 1 to 4 albums, which depends on how many songs each album has, and five, six, seven, eight are kind of medium catalogs, and nine plus are big catalogs. And when I get to that, Jay Z's catalog is amazing for a large, what does he have? 10, 11, 12 albums, and he's doing sometimes 15, 16, 18 songs. His catalog's amazing. I put it there with Prince and the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and the Who. So I don't know how many I'll put in that, but very impressed with Jay Z, and I know everybody always argues over who the greatest of all time. I think if you did a poll of hip hop fans, Jay Z, just because of being in the game as long as he has, and being relevant for as long as he has. I mean, hip hop is notorious for getting tired of artists and moving on from them, and that's never happened to Jay Z. So I think you know. I think he's the greatest hip hop artist of all time. I believe he just walked into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But Jay Z's is an elite musician, songwriter, in modern popular music history. And I say, I consider that from the blues from the late '40s and that first generation of rock from the mid '50s onward. I mean, he's one of the best. So, their brand for both of them then is just excellence. I mean, they don't go out of their way to look a certain way or whatever. They just do their thing, and the other props you got to give to Jay Z. He's also stuck it out and really just been stuck to hip hop. I mean, love the hip hop artists who've gone Hollywood and done movies and stuff, but Jay Z never did that. And Jay Z is not just a musician anymore. He really is an entrepreneur, and you know in many ways, and it's interesting. I mean, he can, roll in the streets, in the hood, and is very comfortable in the corporate suites as well. So that's probably Jay Z's brand in a nutshell. I mean, he can, corporate suites and the streets, uh, and obviously Alicia's, is just greatness, great singer, great pianist, great songwriter. So yeah, had fun doing this. Been wanting to kind of put a twist on these epic songs I like to do. So yeah, thanks for coming through. Uh, got 4 albums out there of my own, are in all the streaming services, and they're right here on YouTube. Check them out. Number 5 is almost ready. I know have been saying this for a while, but really it is just doing a tweak on one song, and then hey, number 5 is dropping. And I also write science fiction and fantasy, and have 2 novels and a novella on Amazon under the name Peter Exodus Okafor. So thanks again, and hope you come through soon, and see you next episode.